Welcome to another edition of Burgh Watching. In this episode, we're focusing on the Manchester Bidwell Corporation located here on Pittsburgh's North Shore. Today, we'll be discussing the Manchester Craftsmen Guild Jazz Department, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary. We're here on the North Shore campus talking with Marty Ashby, executive producer for MCG Jazz, Manchester Bidwell board member Tony Torres, legendary Pittsburgh musician Roger Humphreys, and Walt Straighton, the educational resource manager for Yamaha Institutional Solutions. Welcome to Burgh Watching, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
So before we get started, I recently had the opportunity to sit down with the organization's founder, Bill Strickland. So I'd love it if you guys could take a look and see what he had to say. So we're in the green room, and we're surrounded by photographs of some world-class musicians who have performed here. And on this episode, our panel includes some national musicians as well. Mm-hmm. How does bringing in musicians of a national caliber tie into the educational aspect of the organization?
Well, first of all, each of these artists brings their experience with them. And the fact that these are world-class artists, they're also world-class leaders, and in many cases, world-class human beings. And I think having the kids be exposed to people of that caliber has a very powerful, positive effect on how they see themselves. Secondly, since we're in the education business, the more that we can expose the kids and the adults and the public to these extraordinary musicians from around the world, it deepens the cultural experiences of the school itself and gives us a much broader platform and a much higher level of visibility.
Absolutely. So you kind of touched on this a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about your philosophies on education.
Well, many of the students we work with are struggling. They have maybe income issues. Many of the kids are poor. They're coming from very difficult home situations in many cases. And it's my belief that most people are born with the potential to do extraordinary things, but sometimes their circumstances derail those possibilities. The best way to reconstruct those kids and people who have gone through trauma is to expose them continuously to positive experiences represented by positive adults. So the idea is if you want the kids to be a part of the world, you have to bring the world here so they know what it looks like. And people tend to emulate what they see in front of their face. So the more world-class images, the more world-class people and experiences and ideas and words begins to create an environment that actually physically alters the way that the kids feel about themselves and therefore what they think about themselves.
How do the arts play a role in that?
Well, the arts appeals to that hemisphere of the brain where the human imagination lies. So if you can unlock the imagination, you can also unlock learning and human imaginative possibility. You can't teach the kids algebra if they don't want to live. The first thing you got to do is to get them to agree to stay on the planet. And the arts does it because it appeals to that hemisphere of the brain where the imagination lies, where hope lies, where creativity lies, and innovation. You unlock that segment of the brain. What we've learned through trial and error, you unlock huge, enormous learning possibilities on behalf of these kids.
And how is the Manchester Craftsmen Guild Jazz Department? What is the mission, and how is jazz integral to the history of the Manchester Craftsmen Guild?
Well, we built the center primarily because we wanted to capture and celebrate these extraordinary national treasures called jazz musicians, starting with Dizzy Gillespie and Billy Taylor and so on. The physical fact that they come here and perform as brilliantly as they have since 1986, in and of itself has given us a much higher, almost international reputation relative to visibility. Two, we build a great bunch of friends who come to the concerts and hear this incredible music, but also can't help but notice where they are. So they see this vocational school, they see this arts program that works with kids, and many of those people have become supporters of the programs, not just the jazz program. So there's a very good crossover effect that happens as a result of people who have become our fans in jazz. Thirdly, as we continue to accumulate these Grammy Awards, it puts the Manchester Craftsmen Guild name literally in lights. And that can only help the educational efforts that we have here, because people are much more willing to contribute to something that's obviously very successful. So I think that there are many ways that the jazz program not only contributes to jazz, it contributes to the idea of what this place is all about from a holistic standpoint and from a cultural standpoint.
One of the most inspirational interviews that I've ever had was that interview with Bill, and it encouraged me to read his book, Make the Impossible Possible. And you're in here, Marty, and there's it's a very interesting story about not only the history of MCG Jazz, but your personal history with Bill. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it goes back, obviously, almost 26 years. I was at the time at the Pittsburgh Symphony in the marketing and development department, and a good friend of mine, Emily Remler, who's a great guitar player, said there's these people on the north side that built this concert hall, and they want to do jazz there. And will you go over with me? Because I've never heard of Manchester something. So she picked me up, and she and my brother came over, and we walked in the building. And as soon as I walked in the building, in those days, you had to drive through literally a burnt-out industrial park to get here. Right, the shopping center across the street was all burnt out, and I thought, my goodness, where are we going, right? And so we got in here, and I'm a huge Frank Lloyd Wright fan. So I walk in the door and I say, oh my goodness, I'm home, because of course Mr. Wright, one of his students, designed the building. And we took the tour of the whole center, and we ended up here in the music hall, and Bill said, we built the music hall to do jazz concerts because jazz music saved my life, but we don't know anything about that, we're a school. And I said, Mr. Strickland, we need to talk. And Bill, being Bill, said, how about 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, right? And so I stayed up all night, wrote a little proposal on my Mac Lisa computer, and why he had to hire me, because my background was as a jazz musician and as a jazz producer. And went in the next day, and he said, I don't have any money for you. I said, that's all right, I got to be here. And that was 25 years ago. It's been a great run.
It's amazing. And I mean, we've been exploring the organization now for, the past few months, and every interview and everything I learn, it's just more and more impressive. So how does MCG Jazz tie into the greater mission of the Manchester Bidwell Corporation?
Well, I'll let Tony speak to that as well. From my perspective, being here every day and knowing Bill, this place is about culture. It's about art and culture and community, and about putting one foot in front of the other. And I think that jazz music and the freedom that jazz music represents, it celebrates the individual human spirit. That's what we do on this bandstand right here at every concert. That's what it celebrates. And that's what this place celebrates, whether it's education of high school students or middle school students or folks that are displaced as adults that we're training them for Bidwell. It's about celebrating their individual human spirit, and that is part and parcel exactly what jazz music is.
And Tony, tell me a little bit about, MCG Jazz's success and its international reach.
Right. Well, what I think people don't understand, or they do understand once you say this, is that music is a universal language. There's no translation. The translation is done by the individual, and that's really cool. I mean, that's bizarre if you think about it, that you can play something here in Germany and India, and everybody understands it, gets into it. So what's really, really interesting about this, really almost shelter, as Marty was saying, what's the mission, and how does MCG fit into the overall larger Bidwell Corporation? I see it as an oasis where we provide people, I'll say warmth, but the opportunity to get out of that other world and really find themselves and be able to do what they think is the right thing to do. And I think that's in Bill's vision. He always talks about sunlight, the way the building was designed, about flowers. As we see, this is a warm place where people can really expand and let themselves be who they are. And through music, then to tie back to that, I've been in India, I've been in Abu Dhabi, I've been in Chile, and all the music from here reaches those places. I think the best testament to that is that 3 of the 6 Grammys
going to point
From,
some
yeah,
of
up there in the
these.
piano. 3 of those 6 Grammys are by a Latin artist. Actually, a fellow countryman, because I'm Cuban, and a very, very great relationship Marty has had for a number of years. And that's the kind of things that happen here. It's great. A little tiny place in Pittsburgh.
So, Roger, you've had a very long history with MCG Jazz, one of the first people to play here. Tell us
Correct.
a little bit about your history.
Well, I remember the first time playing here and speaking with Bill. He said, man, I'm gonna make you a place, a home that you have a place to play at all the time, you know. And that's Bill's, that's his spirit. He always liked to share things with other people and make things better in the community, because there was another place called Manchester, House. But I think about that because this is Manchester, a development center where you have the catering business and also the flowers, and most important is the music that we share. And I do believe I was one of the first acts here besides Billy Taylor back in the day, So this place has been amazing because we've had the opportunity of Marty bringing in kids and interacting with them, teaching them how to play, having a relationship with them through the music. And these things would never happen if it hadn't been for this place.
You all touched on this, and it's very interesting talking about home. You walked in here and you said, I'm home. Do you feel like this is coming home when you come back to play here every time?
Oh, no question. Because, I'm very comfortable here. The place just has the spirit. So when you walk in there, you know what you're getting into. And it's wonderful because everybody here got the right attitude. The people that work here got the right attitude. So it's very, very nice place to be. We're happy, and it's going to go, even when I'm dead and gone, it's going to still be going on.
We're not counting on that anytime soon.
Well, thank you. For another 50 years anyway, okay.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So you brought up the Billy Taylor being one of the first artists to perform here, and very recently I had the chance to interview some of the artists who participated in the Billy Taylor tribute concert. So let's take a look and see what they had to say.
It's great. It creates a very warm environment when you get here. It's like seeing family members and people who got your back and show you nothing but love. And I have good memories of when my dad recorded here. So I'm seeing Manchester Craftsmen Guild all the time on his CDs, stuff like that. And last time I played here, the audience was really receptive, and it's one of the few places that does everything right. So I'm really happy to be back.
Manchester Guild is involved in all those facets of art. So it would be contributing to the betterment of the community. That's what I believe. You're helping yourself when you help the Manchester Guild.
So MCG Jazz has a huge impact on the jazz scene, as we've talked about, not just in terms of music and education, but in terms of technology as well. So Walt, MCG Jazz is partnering with Yamaha. Tell us a little bit about this new technology.
Be delighted to, and thanks for the opportunity to be with you guys today. Marty, we have to go back, because if I remember, you and I started here with music technology 6 or 7 years ago. Right. It was shortly after I joined Yamaha. We put in, or facilitated the placement of 2 music labs for the whole music dimension of things, which also then, if I remember correctly, was a precursor to the music production and multimedia aspects. This organization was on the cutting edge of music education technology long before a lot of public schools were. And it was the genesis of a great relationship. But I had the privilege of coming back to visit in mid-October. Roger mentions always about that this place feels home. And it was just great to come back to check and see what was going on. And Marty said, we're thinking about getting a new piano for the facility. And what could we put together? And I said, Marty, there's something amazing on the horizon that actually exists, and I'd like to talk to you about it. And it's through a special instrument that Yamaha created, believe it or not, 25 years ago. But the technology just continues to evolve. You mentioned your Lisa computer. that was a computer, and the technology has evolved a little bit since then. The Yamaha disc clavier, for its simplest application, allows for real-time performance over the internet and opens up the entire new world of, we know in education right now, one of the major buzzwords is distance learning, or buzz phrases, if you would. And while we think of it for maybe someone teaching a foreign language to a group of students in a remote area or something like that, music has always kind of followed that historical conservatory model, one-on-one instruction. On a piano, maybe it's a group class of a teacher and 20 individual students. But in this case, what we're most excited about, and we'll have the opportunity to premiere, is by positioning a piano here for the Guild, is to enable to connect all the tremendous artists that pass through here and connect them to and through others through the World Wide Web. And as part of the upcoming concert series, this piano, which uses the internet, this disc clavier can send and receive piano information, and it's not where you just hear it, but the keys will move, the pedals will move, and all elements of the performance will be captured. So this piano can receive performances anywhere around the world, right here in this hall, live in real time, and we'll be demonstrating that, as well as, and what I'm most excited about as Manchester's education and mission continues to unfold geographically with other Manchester centers that I know are coming and already existing and more on the drawing board, but also in homes and schools across America, we'll be able to capture these performances live, but then have them play back, not just from an audio perspective, but that you'll be there right in the room. But then not only that, but the ability for a master artist, we mentioned Chick Corea, for Chick Corea to deliver a master class real time anywhere throughout the country, anywhere throughout the world, and ultimately down the road to have that two-way interconnectivity, that two-way interactivity with students anywhere, but to have it centered right here in his institution is just a very, very exciting thing. It's a fun time right now.
It is. I mean, it gives me goosebumps because the possibilities that technology like that opens up are just almost limitless. I mean, imagine what you can do with having this technology. And are you planning on, as the year unfolds, having events that open this technology up to people where?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to just a quick aside, we did the first test last night of this technology, and I was absolutely speechless, blown away to see someone in New York playing this Liszt piece and this piano behind us playing exactly what he was playing in real time as we were watching on the screen, and the piano was playing it here. And I was speechless, and I thought, well, what kinds of things could we do for young people and college-age students around the world with these unbelievable performances that happen here, that we beam around the world? So the possibilities to me are just very exciting.
I mean, 25 years ago, did you think that you would have something like this here?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I'm a pretty wild dreamer. But that one kind of took me to a new place. So we're excited, and we thank Walt and Yamaha for continuing to support what we're trying to do to spread the word about this music.
Absolutely. So, this is just another very exciting thing in a 25-year-long history of many exciting things that have happened here at MCCG Jazz. So tell me, and this is for all of you, what have been your most exciting moments here, and who have been some of the, Roger, some of your favorite people that you've performed with here?
Well, it gotten to the point of my life now, the list goes it's very long.
Right.
So one of my good buddies that I enjoyed every time he was here was, he passed away. And my man, Lewis.
Oh.
Yeah. What's his name, man? The drummer that was down here last time? Pearl Belly was her husband.
Oh, yeah, Louis Belson.
Louis Belson.
Yeah. Oh.
See, that's what happened when you play some in the music, it kind of erases your brain. But Louis Belson, it was such a very warm person, as well as Billy Taylor, so many others. Stanley Turrentine I played with. But like I said, the list goes on and on. But this is a heck of an educational place here for all, not only the young people, but for all the older musicians who even come here. Right. And once again, it's like a family thing, man. Only thing I can say, Bill has done a remarkable job with Manchester Craftsmen Guild, along with his buddy, Marty. And me and Marty been knowing one another since he started this program. and we've been on many journeys, you know, throughout Manchester by going to Phoenix, you know, all over the place, and it's been a wonderful, you know, trip for me.
Yeah, sitting in the green room interviewing Bill, you know, I'm surrounded by the photographs of all of the musicians who have been here, and it's breathtaking. I mean, you are a musician, you've performed here. How about you? Who are some of your favorites?
For me, it's always the next one.
Yeah.
But, you know, to have all of my idols right here in this living room, you know, Dizzy and Carmen and Max and Pat Metheny and Nancy Wilson. I mean, the list is unbelievable of the people that have been here. For me, the exciting part about that is that there's a continuum now that I see. When I go out in the lobby and you see that we were talking about that there's 60 leaders that were here over the first 25 years that are no longer with us. There's 60 photos out there, and it's so powerful to see all those names I just mentioned and many more. But then know that the music is in good hands, that the Paquito de Riveras and the Pat Metheny's and the Take Sixes and all these other groups that are coming along are carrying on the tradition of this music, so that 25 years from now there'll be another set of photos, but the music will still be in good hands. And to me, the fact that we could capture that all these years is what's most gratifying, and be able to record it and now have some of that music. When Tony's driving down the streets in India, he hears some MCG jazz on the radio, and you know, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. So from this little place in a little burnt-out industrial park, through one man's vision, we're able to really touch the world. It's unbelievable. I pinch myself daily.
Yeah. I would imagine so. I mean, just combined with the technology, it's really going to bring all of it to a whole new level. So, Tony, what about you in the last 25 years? What have been some of your favorite moments?
Actually, I've been thinking about, we need to do that with a sax and a flute, and then I can just put those instruments at my house when they play here. I don't. Yeah,
you don't have to leave the house ever again.
I have to leave the house.
I think with my mothership, there are people that are working on that. So.
I'm with Marty on this one. It's hard to say. As far as impact, I mean, I like Latin music. Yeah. So I think we saw Pancho Sanchez here 2 weekends ago. Yeah. And extremely powerful concert. He'd been here like 3 years before. He was sick at the time, just cold sick, and he was full out, man. He just cranked. The whole band was doing great. Powerful stuff. Spyro Gyra, when they were here, wow, smoking. And what's kind of funny is, if like I couldn't get in to see Chick, and I called Marty, and I go to New York quite a bit, so I saw Chick at the Blue Note. And you know, even got to run upstairs and bug them and everything. So it's a family here. Where and I'm not really a musician anymore, but I used to be. And to me, to be able to sit in that third row, you can feel the drums. You can feel the musician. You can feel it. You can't do that in a concert with 5,000 people, and you don't realize that here. It's wild, man.
Let's talk about this space, because there's a lot of specialness about this space and how it was constructed. Can you speak about that?
Well, the architect, Tasso Quetzales, is a direct student of Frank Lloyd Wright's. And organic architecture, to me, is jazz music. I did a paper in undergrad that got me out of school entitled "Frank Lloyd Wright is one of the greatest jazz musicians in the world." Because his architecture swings, right? Flat out. If you see, he used to divide his canvas into melody, harmony, and rhythm. And this building is an embodiment of swing, if you ask me. And the fact that the music hall is only 350 seats, it's kind of like playing the Blue Note in New York, but there's no waiters and waitresses around, right? Like clanking glasses, right? So the last row is like being in the front row.
It's very intimate.
And the artist, you know, Roger, you played here a million times. You feel that intimacy, right? It's like playing in a club almost. Right?
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, it's like playing in someone's living room.
Right.
You know.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Really, because it's so comfortable. It's like playing in the living room, having a private party.
And the sound in here, just speaking in this room, it's amazing.
It's pretty warm,
acoustics.
yeah.
It's warm, and I'm sure the sound people that we have here today love it. So.
Well, and that, quite frankly, is how I think we're able to capture such special moments and win, you know, these Grammys and have all these recordings that people enjoy, because most of the recordings we do are live. And I think that the energy of the audience and the music and the comfort that they feel of being here, how comfortable they are, we've been able to capture some music that you just can't get any other way, aside from doing it right here.
And I think, you said it, Roger, and you said it is, that you keep coming back to that idea of home. It's so comfortable to be in this room. As a former performer, I've been on stage and I've never sat on a stage and felt quite this comfortable. It's easy to feel at home in this space. So it just seems to be a recurring theme.
There's an inherent intimacy the
Yeah.
minute that you walk into here. There's also, would you agree, Marty, and you mentioned it earlier, when you walk into the building itself, there is just such a feeling of community. It's gender ecumenical, it's race ecumenical, it's holistic in its concept and design. I think of, there was a phrase by Warren Bennis, the professor of business at USC, and he says, managers are guys that you follow in the budget meetings, but leaders are guys that you follow in the battle. And as I think of Bill Strickland and his vision, this was a gentleman that declared war on, let's do amazing things for people of all walks of life. Let's do amazing things for kids, and let's do amazing things for education, as it resonates in his life. And that, I think, is the spirit that permeates all the things we've talked about today.
And as far as, all of the aspects of MCG Jazz, who benefits from all of this?
We all do. Everybody that works here, to the audience, to the kids, to the adults, to the musicians, to, that's everybody.
Yeah.
It is, as you say, a holistic approach, and I think music touches everybody. Jazz is a way of life, and we have a saying in T-shirts that say "Jazz is life."
Yeah.
The kind of the physical embodiment of the golden rule, if you will. Because if we're all up here playing on the bandstand, and Walt plays something to Roger, Roger's going to play back to Walt something that he would want. So it's kind of treat people the way you want to be treated, right? The golden rule.
Right.
That is what jazz music is all about.
Absolutely. So how important is MCG Jazz to the city of Pittsburgh as a whole?
Well, I would like to say it's very important because just think about it. All the acts that comes here to Manchester Craftsmen Guild, it's impossible to bring them to Pittsburgh. And we wouldn't be able to catch them if it wasn't for Manchester Craftsmen Guild. Yeah.
It's it's one of those things that you probably wouldn't miss till it wasn't there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the reason we all struggle to find this place is because there's not one single aspect of the facility, of the island. It's all of it. And a large part of it is the community of people that this place feels like home for. And a lot of those are Pittsburghers and have a tremendous connection to this place. And Marty hasn't talked about the classes for children and how many kids do we bring in here every year. And for me, a big driving force, and we were talking about this before, is it's very sad to me. I started playing French horn in 5th grade. And everybody used to laugh at me getting on the bus with that case, So I decided I better change to saxophone. That's like a really cool instrument. So by 7th grade, I was playing sax. But what's happening today is kids aren't taking band anymore. A lot of schools are pulling those band programs.
They are.
And this is one of the few places where you can still come and dig down into that, feel it, really see it. You can't just be told on a video game. And so we need to, basically, everything's being digitized. But in the world, we need to basically make some things analog. And music is analog. And I love what's going on with the piano because it opens up certain aspects that we've never had before. But having those kids sit there and listen to Roger play those drums is an emotional experience.
It is.
So that we can't lose that, and that for Pittsburgh is great.
It is. I remember being in grade school and high school and music being such an integral part of the curriculum, and it is not there anymore for a lot of kids. And so it's good to have a place like this where they can nurture that appreciation. Talk to me a little bit about the School of Swing.
Well, the School of Swing is a program that Roger and Joe Negri, you know, is Handyman Negri from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, we put together some 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost 24 years ago. And the essence of it is to take the stigma out of jazz, not make it something that young people automatically, oh, jazz, I don't like that. But when these third graders come in here, and we bus in all the third graders in the public school system, some 3,000 third graders, and now we take the program and we go all over Western Pennsylvania and take it out to schools. And I'll tell you, when this place is full of 350 third graders, they didn't know what jazz was when they walked in the door, but when they leave, they love it. We get them dancing and scatting and clapping, and it is just one of the most powerful experiences of the year, every year for the last 20 some odd years. With the notion being, we want to expose them to the music so that they continue to listen to it and take the stigma out of it. But I have to tell you quickly, last spring, a young African-American man came up to me in the lobby. He said, Mr. Ashby? And I said, yes. And he said, hi, my name's Jimmy, blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, hi, how are you? He said, I'm a subscriber, but the first time I was here is when Mr. Humphreys played for the School of Swing program some 20 years ago. And now he's a subscriber. He's through college, and he and his wife are subscribers. Right?
That's
Isn't that
amazing.
fantastic?
It's touching. It's,
Yes.
again, goosebumps.
And he
right?
remembered Mr. Humphreys.
Yes.
He said, Mr. Humphreys played for us. We came on a school bus, and he remembered it. So isn't that something?
And so the impact is tremendous. That's just one person. You know how many people haven't come up to tell you the impact that it's made for them. What makes the program so successful, do you think?
I think it's the musicians. Yeah, it's these guys. You know, Roger and you know, Jay and Dwayne and the musicians are just so powerful that these young people can't deny greatness. When they see greatness, you know, you can't kind of BS greatness, if you will, right? You can't. It's either you got it or you don't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying,
Yes,
right?
no question.
And these guys play, and it's like these kids get it immediately. They say, well, that's greatness. I want to do that. I want to be like that. So it's a role model, it's a mentor thing that happens.
And what is so great about it, Marty and them was able to take the tunes like the Penguin, I mean, when Joe Negri do his thing, and Mary Had a Little Lamb, all kind of thing, ABC. When you can relate and play things that kids can relate to, you give them a touch of what the music is like. And then you get bigger and bigger, like we did Stevie Wonder's tune, remember?
Right.
And the kids, they were just knocked out. They made so much noise clapping and patting their feet, you know. And to see the joy, even if they didn't have any more joy that day, they had some joy that morning. And they all left out of here smiling, man.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to do that, you know.
So this whole interview's been like a big tease, because after we take our break here, we have a special treat. You're gonna play a little bit for us, right?
If you say so, that's what I'll do.
I would love it. We'll be right back.
People are assets and not liabilities. How we treat human beings once they come into the world determines whether they stay on the asset side of the balance sheet or end up on the liability side. For us at Manchester Bidwell Corporation, what we try and focus on is making sure that people perceive themselves as really being assets, as having something that they can contribute to their communities and their families.
You know, Erin, it occurs to me that a song that came into my head here is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's one of my favorite tunes, and what we've been talking about, the notion of home and making the impossible possible, like Bill's book. The lyrics of the bridge are, if you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it, right? Anything you want to do, just do it. And then he says, want to change the world? There's nothing to it, right? So listen for that in the tune. Here it is, Pure Imagination.
That was amazing. I actually didn't want you to stop, but thank you so much. It was a huge honor to have you play for us.
My pleasure.
So tell me a little bit about what the primary needs of the department are and what people and the viewers can do to help.
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, fundamentally, we want everybody to come and enjoy concerts here. So the more, the merrier that come and see concerts. And you can go to the mcgjazz.org, and we have all of our CDs and the Grammy winners and all that. You can actually download the music online now, as well as purchase the CDs that we send to you. So that's one way to do it. And really say good things about us. You know, it's all about word of mouth. And so those of you that are watching that have been here, tell your friends. Get them back here and enjoy some live music, because you need to see these guys live, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Marty.
Absolutely. So, you know, one question that I always ask my guests is why Pittsburgh? So, well, let's start for you. What makes Pittsburgh special? Why Pittsburgh?
Well, I live in LA currently. I've never had the opportunity and privilege of living here, but I am a native Pennsylvanian. I was born and raised in Harrisburg, and then I taught for 26 years in Williamsport, and had the privilege of teaching public school music and performing groups, and we always tried to do some major trips or some major outreach. And when you're in Williamsport, you have the choice between either Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, because it's about 3.5 hours either way. We always pick Pittsburgh. Why did we pick Pittsburgh? Because of the vibe, because of its heart. We'd come see the Pittsburgh Symphony. We've done a couple things where we came here to the Craftsmen's Guild. The food's good, the people are wonderful. It's just an eclectic mix of all things that you love. And so it was just a delightful time. And while I live outside of LA now, I'm thrilled to get back every chance I can. This gentleman is the consummate host, and with some of the new things we look forward to having the opportunity of doing, looking forward to coming back as much as possible.
And we're very glad you came back for us today.
My privilege, my privilege.
Tony, how about you? Why Pittsburgh for you?
So I'm relatively new to Pittsburgh since about '04. And, you know, life is kind of led, I think, in some interesting ways. Sometimes you don't know why. I like to think of myself, and maybe why I really relate to jazz is that I kind of like rules, but I don't like them that much. So if you really look at jazz, you know, they give you rules for about 8, 16, 24 bars, and then you're on your own, and you can kind of do whatever you want. And eventually you come back to the rules, but then you can go and basically ad lib. And I see the city of Pittsburgh kind of the same way. It's gone through a huge transformation. And after that transformation, it decided it didn't just want to do steel. You know, it's now in healthcare, the universities, music, theater, food. What a great place to live from that perspective. You have all those things and no traffic.
No one got to see our off-camera conversation. No traffic, believe me, no traffic. So, Roger?
Yeah, for me, I was born and raised here, not too far from this Manchester Craftsmen Guild. And my family had a long history of music in it. Uncle Frank, Uncle Hildred, and my older brother taught me how to play drum. I had another brother who played saxophone. And I got you know, it's been so beautiful, man, for me to live in Pittsburgh. And as I gotten older, to be able to travel anywhere I want to go and come back to Pittsburgh, where it's a very peaceful place. You know, we have ups and downs, but I don't think you could find a better place than Pittsburgh for me, especially to raise a family. You know, after I traveled on the road, all the things I had to do, and then the music. We got more music, I think, in Pittsburgh than a lot of big city has. You know, and we always had nightclubs everywhere. You know, and I just think Pittsburgh is a wonderful place.
I often hear musicians say it's one of the few cities you can actually make a living as a musician here, which is, people underestimate it, but that's a special thing. A lot of cities, you know, can't do that. But here we have a big appreciation for our musicians.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Marty, how about you?
Well, you know, I grew up in central New York and had the opportunity to move around a little bit and live in Manhattan after that, in Cleveland and DC and whatnot. And when I got to Pittsburgh now 27 years ago, I knew I was home. I knew that this was home. Certainly when I walked into this building a couple years after that. And it really became clear to me, quite frankly, why in the last couple days. We've been doing these oral histories with the Smithsonian Museum of jazz musicians. In fact, we're going to do one with Roger. We did Joe Negri and Chuck Austin and all these tremendous legends that decided to stay here in Pittsburgh. So we've been doing these, 4, 6, 8-hour oral histories that will live at the Smithsonian, because I felt it was important to capture these stories of these masters. And sitting through those oral histories the last couple days, the legacy of this music that is my life, jazz, in this community is unlike any place in the world. The Ray Browns and the Stanley Turrentines and the Ahmad Jamals and on and on and on, the Billy Strayhorns and et cetera, the George Bensons. And so to hear it from these guys over the last couple days and hear the stories, we spent 3 hours in the 1940s with Joe Negri, and Harold Betters, talking about what was going on in the 40s and early 50s here, and just it now clearer than ever. I know why I'm here.
Absolutely. So tell me how someone can contact you if they want to help the Manchester Craftsmen's Guild.
They can go to our website, which is mcgjazz.org, or call me directly at 412-322-0820. That's my direct dial. And of course, all my staff will say I'm crazy for giving that out, but call me, because I want to talk to you. I want to understand what you think about what we've said today and about this music, because that's what I live on. That's how we know who to have next, is we talk to these 350 people and we figure out, what do you like? I know what I like, but I like it all, so it's easy for me. To have my legends sit here on the stage and play. So call us or write to us or email us, and let's get to know each other.
Guys, I don't think I can thank you all enough for being here. Anything any of you guys want to add?
I was just going to add one more thing to what Marty said, because I said I was fairly new to Pittsburgh. These concerts are very accessible from a ticket price standpoint. You can have basically a whole season's ticket here for what you'd pay for one ticket in New York. And I just want to emphasize that, because it gives the opportunity for the whole community to participate. It's not out of reach, and that's really important. And you can find the schedule, as Marty said, on mcgjazz.org.
Great. Guys, thank you again. It's been a tremendous pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aaron. Thanks for having us.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of Burgh Watching. Make sure to stay up to date on all things Burgh by visiting the Burgh Living blog at www.burghliving.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/burghliving or on Twitter under our username at Burgh Living. Be sure to join us again for another episode of Burgh Watching. We'll see you next time. Marty, you want to play us out?
Sounds good.
Great.